Dragon Ball is a franchise that's been a very huge part of my life pretty much since my consciousness sprung into being. I still remember the very first episode of the show that I saw way back in probably 2001. It was the one where Frieza went into his final form and proceeded to give Vegeta the absolute humiliation of a lifetime. To this day, that's still one of my favorite episodes of the series. At this point, I've seen every Dragon Ball anime except for the superheroes one. That one's a bit weird, though. It's basically fanfiction. I've seen all the movies, played almost all of the games, I still read the manga, heck, I even have a few collectibles. I even collected the cards as a kid, but unfortunately I no longer have those. It's honestly a shame that I didn't preserve my old trading cards, not just the Dragon Ball cards, because man, if I still had those Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I would be so rich. If only. Anyway, not too long ago I decided to give the Blu-ray collection of the DBZ series a buy, and at the time of writing this, I've just made it through the show's 6th season. That's the Cell Saga for those of you who've never actually watched the show. Season 1 of Dragon Ball Z is such an interesting set of episodes to look back on because it honestly encapsulates pretty much everything the show's come to be known for by fans. There's great fights, a compelling story and characters, voice acting that ranges from goofy.
I hope Goku brings Gohan back soon. I'd hate for them to miss out.
To genuinely fantastic.
The choice is yours, Kakarot. But either way, you are going to perish.
Filler. Oh my god, it only gets worse. Lots of setup and plenty of foreshadowing for future events. It really feels like the showrunners, and not to mention Toriyama when he was working on the manga, had a clear understanding of what was to come for the series and how best to lay the foundations for it. Now, I hadn't watched the show in a great many years when I first started this reviewing. Sure, I'd seen it before, and the games recap it in its entirety pretty much every time, barring fighters, but it'd been a while since I'd properly sat down and gave the show a full watch. And despite knowing pretty much everything that happens, I gotta say there was a fair amount here that I found genuinely kinda surprising. The first and foremost is Raditz. I will never understand why fans of this franchise are always clowning on him. He is genuinely so good in every scene he's in, and the dynamic he has with Goku, Gohan, and even Piccolo and the other Saiyans is really compelling. People like to shit on Raditz because his power level is relatively minuscule compared to even Nappa and Vegeta, and God knows the Cybermen thing wasn't really helping his case. But seriously, he is not only one of the best, but he is one of the most important characters that this franchise has ever seen. I'm not kidding. So, we all know about the reveal of Goku being a Saiyan, and yeah, it's iconic. The reveal was such an effective way of uprooting the world of Dragon Ball and making way for an entirely new universe, and eventually multiverse, of storytelling. Honestly, it's not too far off from the talk with Beerus at the end of Battle of Gods. What's really funny is when Raditz realizes that Goku's behavior is completely unlike a Saiyan, so Raditz asks him straight up if he was dropped on his head as a kid, and the fact that the answer is yes just makes this. But what follows this exposition has to be one of the most savage displays of dominance that I have ever seen. This dude Raditz whips Krillin straight into the Kame House with his tail like he's swatting a fly, flattens Goku with a single knee to the gut, kidnaps his 4-year-old son, and says that he wants Goku to bring 100 bodies to this beach before tomorrow. My God, Raditz, homie, it's the first episode, calm down. But then Piccolo shows up and yeah, Raditz harassed him just a short while earlier, so Piccolo was looking to get some revenge on the guy, and what follows has to be low-key one of the best team-ups in anime history. Y'all for real sleeping on Goku and Piccolo versus Raditz. This fight is crazy. Raditz was such a monstrous powerhouse that Goku and Piccolo, former sworn enemies who nearly killed each other, had to unite just to have a chance at beating him. But it didn't even matter, like Raditz was straight up clowning these two. Man's for real had his arms crossed most of the time like they were kids on a playground trying to take back their lunch money. From the teacher. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, yeah, he may be the best, but he wasn't the first. And talk about pacing, this fight is so well paced when it comes to the ebb and flow of its action. Initially, Goku and Piccolo can't even touch Raditz, like, Raditz is in a whole nother league above these two, who before Raditz arrived were the strongest living creatures on Earth by country miles. But now this alien brother of Goku is just completely steamrolling the previous top villain and our beloved protagonist like they were a couple of jobbers straight out of the Red Ribbon Army. When Goku loses his weighted clothing, his power level goes up. It's not enough to compete with Raditz, but it's enough to let the audience know to hold out for a bit. Cause these dudes still cooking. But then Raditz lets loose that double Sunday and oh my god. Piccolo's lost a whole damn arm and Goku's lucky to even be alive right now. And Raditz is laughing! This dude is a menace! It was also at this point in my reviewing that I realized the voice of Raditz is the same as the voice of Super Buu, another one of my favorite Dragon Ball villains. Now that I figured it out, it really does seem obvious, but I really just had no idea for the longest time. It should also be noted at this point that Goku was still using the Nimbus, meaning that he couldn't actually fly, unlike Raditz who could just levitate in the sky with no issue whatsoever. So yeah, homeboys really were handicapped even with the numbers. But eventually, Goku and Piccolo figure out, alright, we gotta think of something to take this dude down, and that's when it hits Goku to go for the tail. Whenever someone grabbed Goku's tail, it hurt like hell, so let's try it on this dude. And it works. But then Goku, oh man. God help the dude, he's just too kind for his own good. Raditz pleads with Goku to spare him, and just as Goku loosens his grip, Raditz flattens him like a 50-cent pancake. And Piccolo is just malting at this point, he is so pissed. Now at this point, Gohan's basically been Chekhov's gun for the duration of the fight. The camera would cut to him every now and then, but all he was doing was crying in Raditz's space pod. Oh yeah, Raditz put him there because Gohan's crying was annoying him. I guess timeout is a thing even with the Saiyans. But then Raditz starts going medieval on Goku and shattering his ribs. Now, Sean Schemmel has his ups and downs when it comes to voice acting, but if there's one thing he can do, it's scream as if he is actually being tortured to death. Like, for real, this stuff is honestly uncomfortable to listen to at times. So Gohan's had enough, and he decides it's time to give Uncle Raditz a receipt. He explodes out of the space pod and flies at Raditz full speed and headbutts him so hard it breaks his armor and knocks the wind clean out of his lungs. So now Raditz, Goku, and Piccolo are just sitting there for a minute thinking, what just happened? Unfortunately for Gohan, that's about where his time in this fight ends. He had his spike in power, but given he's, 4, he wasn't about to just square up with Uncle Raditz. But it does piss Goku off just enough for him to break out the full Nelson. Given that Raditz just had his chest basically indented, Goku's able to hold on for just long enough so Piccolo can do his thing. And oh man, this is one of the best attack windups I've seen in any anime. So, at this point, Raditz can tell what's up. He sees Piccolo charging an attack, and his scouter shows that big green power level going higher and higher. Raditz tries a bit of footsies to get out of the Nelson, but Goku's arguably just as trained in the technical aspects of combat as his brother. Plus, again, Raditz is basically crippled from that attack by Gohan, so there's no way that he's getting out of this. And Piccolo, oh my god, this man is just giddy that he is about to kill his sworn enemy and his blood. Like, on God, this might just be the happiest day of Piccolo's life. Raditz, on the other hand, holy crap, this dude knows what's coming and he is here begging for his life. And not like earlier when he knew he could get the slip on Goku by lying through his teeth, like Raditz has packed his bags and gone straight to Pee-Pee Pants City. He knows there's no escape and he is scared. You see, in their last moments, people show you who they really are. Raditz is a coward and a narcissist and a monster, but Goku, on the other hand, is noble, selfless, and courageous to the very end. Not only is Raditz the perfect introductory villain for Dragon Ball Z, but he is the perfect foil to Goku. Forget Turles and forget Goku Black. Raditz is what it would have meant for Goku to not take that bump to the head all those years ago. And for what it's worth, even though Raditz himself didn't kill Goku, there was literally no way for Goku to walk out of this fight alive. Either Raditz was going to kill his brother himself, or Goku was going to sacrifice himself for the special beam cannon. That's more than most other Dragon Ball villains can say. Vegeta, Ginyu, Frieza, Dr. Zero, every movie villain, Majin Buu, Baby, Super 17, Omega Shenron, Beerus, Zamasu, Jiren. The only other villain that has a claim on Goku's life is Cell, but even then he only has that because of Gohan's psychopathic tomfoolery. I suppose technically Zamasu from the future timeline can say he's killed Goku, but I mean, come on. He only got it because of the Super Dragon Balls, which can literally do anything. Raditz, though, he didn't need magic or a plot device. The dude just showed up, and Goku couldn't do a thing to stop him. And at this point, there was no Super Saiyan, there was no Spirit Bomb, there was nothing. Goku and Piccolo were tough, and they had each other's backs for this fight, but no matter what happened, the only one who had no chance of walking out of this fight alive was Goku.